Got it. Okay. So hi, everybody. I'm Linda Brubaker. And first thing I'm going to tell you is that I would love to have um, your comments about what my title should be. I call myself a career transitions coach. Career job search coach doesn't really do it, because what I really do is that I help people determine how best to make that transition from one job to another, to use those transferable skills and to talk about what's in it for the company that they're looking at or the industry they're looking for, to translate things from what you've done to what's important for somebody else. So you all can come up with ideas for me in terms of a new title. I'd love that. But in the meantime, I want to tell you a little bit about me. I come to this work, and actually, this is my 8th-year anniversary. Yesterday was my 8th-year anniversary of doing this work as a dedicated job search or job transitions coach. I come to this work with over 20 years of experience in HR and recruiting. I've been an internal recruiter. I've been an external recruiter, a headhunter. I've been a hiring manager and an HR business partner. So the information that I bring to this group is based on all of that experience from both sides of the recruiting desk. In the 8 years now that I've been doing this, 907 people that I've worked with have gotten offers. Now, that doesn't mean that you will, but what it means is that the information that you get today, the information you get from these groups, and if you decide to work with me, okay, then that's what you're going to get, information that we know is actionable and that will help you move forward. Now, we know you don't really want to be here. So our goal today, as it is every week, is to give you the tips, the tools, the networking to help you move forward so that you're not here next week. But in the meantime, we're here to help you find that next forever job. Now, I do this as a labor of love. I support it with my coaching business. I'm going to put that information in the chat. And that's the end of my sales pitch for today. In the meantime, it's all about selling you and your skills and how we can help you. So please do put your information in the chat. And I'm going to ask Sue to introduce herself as well. Sue is another coach, and Sue also is here to support you in any way that she can.
Thanks, Linda. I love being here, even if all of you don't love being here, and I can understand your perspective. But showing up here is exactly what we want you to do. I'm known as Sue Mentors, but I'm also known as the mentor with pom-poms. I celebrate everything, big wins, small wins, things you don't think are wins. Wins. But today, like every day, when you just show up, if you're showing up for this, even if it's a hard day for you, you have made a win because you're taking control of your professional development. I know life in the job searching world and even the work world, it's not easy right now. Linda and I will try to help give you tips for that. I'll keep my eye on the chat and try to get people to engage. I want to tell you, I've noticed in the last couple months, so many of you are engaging, not just let's connect on LinkedIn, but showing your expertise, making comments about something that a guest speaker, for example, is mentioning. That's an important point. That's how you give value to get value. So thanks again, as always, Linda, for having me. And I look forward to today because I have a special interest in transferable skills too. I'm going to put my information in again. Happy to connect with everyone here. You don't need a message with me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sue. I appreciate it. And you're right, you don't need a message to connect with me either. So please share your information in the chat. I'm going to try and monitor it. I will tell you sometimes that I don't always see it. So if you see something that I don't, let me know. Here are the things that I'd like to see in the chat. Not just your LinkedIn URL and make it a clickable link, but tell us what kinds of things you are looking for. Make it short, okay? 2 or 3 titles and an area. Okay, if you have a specific industry or company you're interested in, let us know that too. If you have a question, please put the word question all in caps in the chat so that we can find it. And when we get to that area, we'll ask you to raise your digital hand as well. If you are new to the group, We know you don't want to be here, but we'd like to welcome you. And we're going to try and take time to have at least 2 of you, maybe 3, introduce yourselves very quickly. So put the word new all in caps in the chat so that we can find you as well. In addition, one of the things that we do is we have a private group, and I meant to talk about that before we turned on the recording, but we have a private group, and that private group has become very active in addition to the chat. It's where we share job information. It's where we do some of that connection. It's where we ask for advice. It's where we ask questions. It's where I'm going to post a copy of the chat as well as a summary, and where I'm going to tell you that we're going to put the recording up, and actually it seems to be recording live now. So we're going to do that as well. We always start these sessions with wins. And as Sue mentioned, we celebrate all wins. And a win can be, I had an interview and it didn't go anywhere. Okay. It could be, hey, I just got an offer. It could be, I'm trying something new. I made a new networking connection. It could be whatever you want. But celebrating wins, big and small, is important to all of us. So please, if you have a win that you'd like to celebrate, let's hear what some of those wins are. Raise your digital hand and let's celebrate with you.
If you get an interview and you bomb the interview, how's that a win? The fact that you got an interview at all?
David, it is a win because you got the interview. It's also a win because you learned something from it. Okay. You made a connection at the company. You got that interview practice going. So yes, that's a win. And if it didn't go well, or if it did go well, make sure that you do send a thank you note afterwards. One of the things that's most effective that people forget about is sending that thank you note after a rejection, if you've actually had a conversation. It keeps you in their radar, tells you what's important to you about that company and that job, gives you something additional that you can then talk about. You can ask for some feedback. Okay. Can you give me some mentoring advice? Not what did I do right or wrong here, but how can I better prepare like a job for this here or elsewhere in the future? And gee, it was really so important to be part of this conversation. I really enjoyed what you were talking about. May I keep in touch with you for future opportunities, and then do so. It keeps you on their radar, so that's not a bad.
Yeah, that was just a curiosity question. I haven't actually had any interviews. So
that's okay. You will.
I sure hope so. It's not happening right now.
It will.
More rejections even today.
You know, even a rejection is a win. It means you've still got some of that information out there.
Although this time they said they're impressed with my qualifications, but they're moving forward with somebody else.
That happens. Just keep plugging. Okay, I see Denise has your hand up.
Thanks, Linda. Can you hear me? I'm battling a cold right now. Okay, thank you. So I went to the New York Winter Film Festival a few weeks ago and made some connections with producers and screenwriters, and was very happy and connected and turned those connections into evolving friendships. And I found out about the Real Abilities Film Festival. I had known about it. It's basically a festival that centers around filmmakers with disabilities or the cast with disabilities. And I said, okay, I looked into it. Not only am I going, but I'm going to be volunteering. And I went last night for the first orientation. And it turns out that my budding friendship from the New York Film Festival is also volunteering here. And I met some other people, and it's a great way to network. I'm really looking forward to that. Also, I'm being considered for a board of directors position. I filled out the application. She knows who I am, so my fingers crossed on that. So there is momentum. It's a matter, for me, it's about manifesting and staying in intentional action and just listening to what I hear, listening to the experts. They know, like such as yourself, you know what you're talking about.
Well, thank you. And you're right. It's the idea of trying to get yourself out there. And then with you, if you get that board of directors position, for example, or that volunteer role that you're talking about, you can also add those to your LinkedIn profile. You can
exactly.
add to other things. Perfect.
Thank you.
Skills there too, absolutely. Good morning. You have to unmute. There you
Sorry,
go.
I'm trying to multitask here. So, a recruiter I had worked with several years ago reached out to me out of the blue and said, "Hey, I might have a new role for you." And I'm like, "Awesome." So, we got connected. They said, "Tell me what your availability is for an interview." I say, "Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week." And they say, "We need you to interview on Monday." I was going to the East Coast for a wedding, so I had very little time to get my shit together. But I had this interview at my friend's house, and the hiring manager said, "Oh, are you so and so?" And I'm like, "No, I had to come here for a wedding, and this is who I really am." Anyway, it went great. It's a 6-month contract role, but I don't care. I want to keep moving in the process because it's just a good place to be. It's,
That's right.
yeah. So,
And it doesn't matter how long the contract is. The contract still gives you additional skills that you can add to your resume. It gives you
exactly.
additional people that you can do networking with. It
Yep.
gives you additional people that you can, whoops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. It gives you additional people that you can use as referrals and references. It gives you those internal contacts.
Yep.
Always a good thing.
Yep.
So keep us posted.
Don't worry.
I know. Okay. I hope the wedding was good.
Oh my God. So over the top. I have never been to such an incredible wedding with about 200 guests. I'm sure it cost $1 million, but it was just amazing. Amazing.
Well,
Really.
that's wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
By the way, if you accept a contract, always remember to continue the job search because
Right.
contracts, even though they say that they're for 6 months, you don't want to be at the end of the contract and then starting to look again. You want to keep that pipeline going. And there is an unspoken but fully understood idea among the HR folks and even hiring managers that if you're on a contract, you really want that full-time job.
Right.
And so you're going to continue to look and may leave before the end of the contract, the same way that they can terminate the contract at any
Yep.
time, even though they say
Yep.
so. So, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay. Krishna, thanks for waving at me.
Yes, yes. So I definitely had a win last week. I had my very first in-person interview exactly a week ago on Wednesday. So I was quite happy about that. This was after 3 months of searching. So, and it was pretty intense. I mean, went nearly, I don't know, it went from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Oh my
And
goodness.
they took me out to dinner. So it was pretty intense. So I'm keeping
That
my fingers
was.
crossed and see how it goes. But the lesson that I learned from this is I've applied to many jobs, and this particular one very much in my core competency, very much in what I had done before. So maybe it's a message to me that I should just be focusing on what my core competencies are and try to be really focused on that. So that's all. Yeah.
Okay. Congratulations. Keep us focused.
Yeah,
Keep
will
us
do.
posted.
Yeah, thanks.
See, anybody else had their hand up? Any other quick wins? All right. Do we have a couple of new people here who'd like to share some information with us? If you're new, please raise your digital hand if you'd like to introduce yourself to the group. I know that there's some new faces here. You don't feel obligated to introduce yourself, but if you'd like to, we'd like to know more about you so we can support you. All right. Then let's get going. Okay. So our topic for today is that whole idea of transferable skills. So a lot of us are frustrated with what we're doing. We want to get into new areas. We want to know if we've been in one industry, how do we transfer from one industry to another, even with the same set of skills? And you just heard Krishna talk about the fact that he wanted to focus in on his core competencies in terms of his job search. So I want to hear a little bit about what kinds of things you are doing to try and focus in on what some of those transferable skills are, identify some of those transferable skills. And for example, I'm seeing Joe in the chat saying that he's looking at leaving his area, his field, to move into something else. Joe, may I ask why? And what you're looking for?
No, yeah, you can hear me, Linda?
You can.
Yeah, I've been in the IT field for over 20 years. And ever since the pandemic started in 2020, it's kind of thrown a monkey wrench into all of it. And a lot of the stuff I'm seeing, I'm getting, the only feedback I might be getting, Linda, is overqualified. And I don't know if that's just a code word for being too old, or if I'm too expensive. I'm getting, just like I posted, I had 2 interviews this morning. I got 1 on-site interview booked for tomorrow downtown Chicago, 2 more interviews booked for Friday. I'm getting the interviews, I'm getting the calls from recruiters and HR reps. So the resume and LinkedIn profile is working. What's fizzing out is at the end, when we get to the finals, they're always picking someone who has more recent and relevant tech experience, because I've been laid off 5 times in the last 3 years. Last year, I had 4 offers. 2 of them were withdrawn. 1 ghosted me, and 1 was only a 3-month contract during the summer. So, and with these small contracts, people aren't thinking I'm committed, don't want to work. It's like I'm typecasted. And it's hard to be able to sell myself on that when the hiring manager could just pick up, just hire the last guy that, oh, he just recently left a contract 2 months ago where he worked 2 years at, or a job. You see, they're picking someone who's worked at a job for 1-2 years recently over me that's been out of the full-time workforce for nearly 5 years. So I'm at the point of looking at changing careers in a customer service or data admin and processing, which is what I'm going for tomorrow at technical. So I'm getting hits. I'm getting some replies to that. I got obviously a lot of transferable skills come from help desk, desktop support, many years in retail, working in computers, effective communication skills, and using AI to enhance my resume. Not completely rewrite it. I always edit it, and I'm getting results as a ChatGPT. I'm making it work for me. That's why I'm getting these results. So my hope is, I'm crossing my fingers that one of these comes through to a full-time, and most of these are full-time jobs. I have to get out of the contracts. It's really just hurting me. That's all.
I understand. Okay. So a couple of things there that I picked up on, one of which is the contract roles and the short-term roles. We're going to talk about that specifically sometime next month when we do a conversation about what we're calling portfolio careers. Okay. The idea that you're doing lots of those short-term roles, but you can package them together to talk about them in a way that doesn't look as though they're necessarily short-term contracts, but that you can talk about the individual companies you're working with under one label, as well as talking about all the skills in the companies that you've worked with. Transferring to other areas is not a bad thing. It's building on those skills that you have. And Joe, I'm happy that you're getting some of those hits. That's really good. If the interviews aren't going, then sometimes you need a little more, people may need some additional assistance in terms of interview prep and how to answer some of those questions, especially about some of those short-term roles. David.
Yeah, even though Joe Kaminsky has not, hit the bullseye yet, he's getting interviews and getting interest from recruiters, and which I have not been getting. And what are you doing that I'm not doing? Or is it that you have a better work history? Joe.
What I'm doing is branding, really. A lot of these places, I'm either the recruiters or the HR rep are
Mhm.
finding me on LinkedIn.
Uh-huh.
Just because I have over the 1,000 connections,
Uh-huh.
I have a good, what I do is I put a short title and my location, Chicago, in my
Uh-huh.
title. So people, when they see my name, they see where I'm at.
Right. I've got
So,
that too.
so what I'm getting is branding on LinkedIn, and I'm applying at a lot of different jobs. You may call it spray and pray, but I'm applying at a lot of different jobs, even where I might only be 50% of.
How many are you applying to weekly?
I don't really keep track too much, honestly. I only keep track of stuff that I actually get an interview for, but I could be going anywhere from sometimes 10 upwards of 25 to 30 a day. Either easy, and a lot of these have been easy applies, and I'm getting responses back.
Really?
Okay.
I mean,
I
I'm
will-
getting responses back, but whether there's just so much competition in IT here in Chicago because it's oversaturated with a lot of the federal workers leaving, and there's a lot less technical jobs because companies have left. It's not a very business friendly city, so there's a lot more competition for what little real jobs are left, which is kind of why I'm looking into moving into other areas. And I'm getting calls for customer service, and tomorrow is actually one for IDOT, Department of Transportation.
So one of the things that I would tell you is, yes, you should keep applying. No, you should not do a spray and pray approach, even though it seems to be working for Joe. As a recruiter, putting on that recruiting hat, it is not the most effective way to work. Your most effective way is to demonstrate how you match the job. So when Joe was talking about branding, okay, making sure that you're making yourself that subject matter expert for that role, that works.
Mhm.
Okay, easy apply, maybe working for Joe, but for most people, it does not. And one of the problems with easy apply is that you're more likely to get contacted by spam recruiters.
Uh,
Okay, we're finding a lot of spam recruiters are doing that. Not only that, what we're finding is that with the easy apply, you really can't customize a job or your resume or your materials for the job.
mhm.
Okay, so Joe's approach is working for him, and congratulations, Joe. I think that's fantastic. But for most of us, you're better off not worrying so much about the numbers as you are about making sure that you're applying for the jobs that you really have an interest in and that you can demonstrate your value to.
Mhm.
Okay.
I've
Joe,
not been
post it.
I've not been getting any calls from recruiters, or as other people are. So maybe there's something I'm doing wrong, or maybe it's my history isn't as good. I gotta diagnose this.
Could be. Now, David, one of the things that you're doing is you're doing a lot of training.
Have been doing a lot of training, not
I
so
know.
much now.
Fantastic. No,
Yeah.
but that's great. So need to add that to your LinkedIn profile and your resume in
Mhm.
probably two different spots. One of
It's
which
all
I-
there.
in the training spot, but it should be on your resume as well and on your profile right at the top. Okay, here's what you're doing while you're looking for your next full-time job, your next
So in
forever
my
job,
in
you
my
are doing
about
it.
section.
Not just in
right?
your about section, as part of your experience.
Mhm.
Okay, because it shows that you're actively involved in what you're doing.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Can you put certificate programs into the experience section?
not certificate
I
program,
would,
even
so,
training, that you're doing the training to improve your skills or to change your skills. And
Yeah.
yes, then list them there as well as in the training area. Okay. So there's several different places that you can put it. Sue.
I actually was going to go back to Joe's comment about the interviews. And again, it may help David too. But Joe, it sounds like maybe, and I don't know because I wasn't there, but maybe you're losing them in terms of telling the story instead of, I'm not up to date on certain things, or you didn't exactly say it that way, but rather, here's how over my career I've been a fast learner. I learned COBOL in 2 weeks, or whatever it is. I mean, you can tell how old I am when I pick COBOL. But also, don't focus on the skill. I mean, I told Linda, Linda knows, I've been back and forth with her for a month on, I need to talk about transferable skills. we use skills sometimes as a shortcut for experience, but what people need to hear is the actual evidence of what you're doing. So when you're taking training, great. Weave it under a present job of improving your experience in X. So rather than focus on saying, I'm taking training. In your stories, Joe, maybe you could weave together something about how you quickly adapted on the fly because you had so much background in X and Y. Again, I don't know where you're losing them because the beauty contest of interviews is horrible, meaning I would never. So hopefully that helps you think about it, not to focus, the skill is there, but use it to get what you want so that you get to tell a story that weaves together many of your transferable skills: adaptability, teamwork, delivering on time, being independent, whatever are those different things there. So thank you, Linda, for letting me.
Absolutely. And the thing that's really important in all of this is focusing in on what you can do for them. Okay. It's not about what you want. It's about what you can do for them. So the idea of building those stories in your interview, on your resume, on LinkedIn, in your posts is all about how what you've done, and de-emphasize what you've done and where, but what you've done, talk about the accomplishments and how it ties into what it is they need. It's not about what you want, not about what's in it for you. It's about what's in it for them. In fact, I did a post about that yesterday, a very quick one. The idea is it needs to be in their terms, especially with so many people on the market and growing every day. What's in it for them, if you make that highlight on your resume, on LinkedIn, and in your interview stories, that's what's going to sell you into the job. Okay. De-emphasize how long you've been out of work. They bring it up, change the narrative. Okay. All you have to do is say, you're right, I've had a lot of short-term positions, but here's how I can build on what I've learned in those for you. All of those are part of my career narrative and what I bring to you. So those are the kinds of things that I would do. Take control where you can. But you're right, interviewing is tough. Okay. I saw a question, let's see. David, you asked a question about how do you recognize some of those spam recruiters? Okay. I wish I could give you a cut and dry. Okay, but there are a couple of things. One of which is double check their profile. If what they're talking to you about sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Trust your gut. If they only have a few connections, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
If you can't find the job they're talking about on the company's website, that's an issue. If the
Nope.
person who's contacting you wants to do anything by WhatsApp, that's a red flag.
If someone just mentioned WhatsApp or Telegram, that's a red flag.
Red flag. Real interviews are not handled on WhatsApp or Telegram.
Okay, so you don't do it via text. That's what I always thought. But I've been contacted on instant messaging, and I don't really trust it.
No, I got one this morning on my personal cell phone. Okay, as well as another one on my business phone. Both of those. We've got a great opportunity. Would you like to talk?
And of course, you didn't solicit or apply for anything.
No.
Out of the blue.
Okay, perfect.
Speaking of scams, there's this company called Collatify, I think. And they have asked me, I applied for a job through them, and I get to a certain point in the process and they ask for my credit score.
Red flag, drop off.
Because I clicked a link and it got to a place where they want my birth date and social security number. And at that point, I backed out completely. I'm not about to give them that.
You're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
sorry, David. What? I'm sorry.
I was going to say a legit employer shouldn't care about your credit score, right?
Not unless you are in a job where you are actually handling their books, and they're not going to do that until they are ready to make a hire.
Okay, it wouldn't happen up front in any case. Okay,
Absolutely not.
that's good to know. Thank
Okay.
you.
Uh-huh. Nice to see you back, or not nice to see you back. Tell me. Which way? Hello.
Hello. Just talking about scamming. I got two. I guess they like me. So, and the reason I'm sharing it, because one was interesting. Got the text from Skyrocket Venture, a little bit fishy. You know, there is a job. Do you want some details? I said, sure. And then asked me, are you US citizen? Are you 25 years old? And then says somebody on WhatsApp would call you. So I went to the Skyrocket Ventures, is a legit recruiting company. So I send them an email that somebody from you called somebody called Samantha just contacted me. Is this with you guys? Immediately they got back to me. Actually, then one of them called me and said, no, we have no such a person. So and we got to get to know actually that recruiter. That was interesting. But so I got that one, and the thing is that, oh, somebody on WhatsApp would call you, and this is about making $200 to $600 per day as a sidekick. You know, something is fishy. So that's one. I got one yesterday from Top Executive Recruiting, and the name of a person, again, legit name, a little bit fishy, not my name at the beginning, no phone, nothing. I went to the LinkedIn. There is actually a person who is a recruiter with that name, but with totally different company. So I sent email back, great, thank you for, and they wanted my resume. Hey, great, thank you for that. Can we have a conversation before I send the resume? Because I want to get to know more about the job. By the way, it was a chief product officer job. Great. I got like, no, I'm not at the position to be able to talk to you or any client this time. By the way, the fonts and the names didn't match. Okay, can you share me your LinkedIn or company website? And then silence after that. So something this happened before. I sent my resume, then they send me, which I thought, well, they can access my resume. So sharing my resume is okay, right? So after that, they send me another one back with the link. Oh, our ATS couldn't read your resume. Could you click on this link? And I know that by clicking that things would happen. So anyway, that is my experience the past 5 days with scammers. So you have to be careful. And some of them are really bad. I mean, not having even a fake LinkedIn is insulting, you know.
You're absolutely right. And
That's what I
unfortunately,
think.
we're finding that there are going to be more and more of those scammers, the fake jobs, the fake recruiters. So be very careful out there. Okay.
Yep.
Jim, can you turn your camera on? There you go. Unmute.
On this
There.
story, oh, hi everyone. I'm telling this story secondhand, but just as a from a meetup that I went to last week, someone shared their job search experience, and they were actually made a job offer, and it was legit and everything, but the way things happened wasn't so organized or didn't follow the rules. And it apparently was a large healthcare provider where the hiring manager made an offer to the candidate, the person who was describing his situation. They sent him the job offer via text, but didn't include human resources. So just be careful when you get to that stage. That was his lesson to us, is be careful when you get to that stage that you get it from the legitimate place, from the legitimate people in the organization, because he lost out that there was some conflict as to what the role really was, the people who were involved at that level that the role was at. Some people were over their heads on that. It was a disaster. So just be careful, as you're moving through the process, that you have the right people doing what they're actually responsible for. Because he really wanted the position, and it just, fell apart because of some internal politics.
That happens. Internal politics will happen. And so will the fact that we're seeing some jobs being pulled after the offer has been made. We're also seeing some jobs being pulled, some offers being pulled because the company has decided that rather than doing more layoffs, they're going to try and find positions for internal candidates. So it's bad for those of us who are applying, but feels good that a company's trying to accommodate their own. I never mind that. So trying to see, yes, okay, what other things there are in the chat, but I want to talk about that whole idea of transferable skills. One of the things I'm going to put in the chat, it's a couple of things. There are some if you're a federal employee and you've been affected by a layoff or think you might be, there is a whole group that's out there to help you. Oops, didn't mean to turn that on. Okay. But it's a group that's out there for those people who are in that Fed space or were in that Fed space, talking about how to make some of those transitions. And in our private group, since I can't find it right now, there's also going to be some training programs specifically designed for federal employees. Now, there was one posted this morning that I saw that I haven't yet had a chance to respond to. Whether you're a federal employee, former federal employee, former government employee, whether you've been in any industry, no matter how long you've been in job search, there are programs out there to help you with training. I think I put some of the links to those in our private group, but I'm going to remind you of one that's important. There is a federal grant program that is still in effect called WIOA. It's WIOA, Workforce Innovations Opportunities Act grants. And what those grants are, they provide training program funding, free money for training programs at specific organizations. Now, there are specific training programs that are out there. They have to be approved by the state, by various organizations. But the number of programs that are out there are absolutely amazing. To try and find some of those programs, go through your local unemployment office. You do not need to be getting unemployment, but that's where you can find a link to those WIOA grants, or put in WIOA and then your state name. You have to be approved for the process. If you are currently receiving unemployment, it's very easy to get that approval. If you are not, the approval is still very easy, relatively easy to get. It's just maybe a little more paperwork. Okay. One of the things with the WIOA grants is that they will not fund a degree program. However, they will fund certificate programs. They will fund individual training. They will fund some of those programs that help you make those transitions from one career or one industry to another, to make use of those transferable skills and gain new ones. If you are going for some of those programs and you're not sure whether or not the program is going to be worth it to you, or whether or not the provider of the program is a good one, DM me and let's talk about it. Okay. I know a number of them. I don't know them in every state, but I can help you determine whether or not it's a reasonable provider. One of the problems with a WIOA grant, and it's just my issue perhaps, is that with a WIOA grant, you're given a certain amount of money. And all the people who are providing that WIOA training in your state, in your county, know how much money that is. And so when you go to them for one program, they're going to want to sell you X numbers of other programs to meet that total dollars. Make sure that remember that you are choosing the programs that work best for you moving forward. Don't let them sell you a training program. Make sure that you're doing your research to make sure that what they're asking for or what they're trying to sell you the program for is a program that you can really use. Okay. All right. So let's use that, Jim.
Yeah, and not to contradict you, but I know that I went to a WIOA meeting in Bergen County in New Jersey, and they told us that some colleges do offer free tuition to unemployed people who live, collect, yeah. So just depends on where you live that they, yeah, I'm not saying it's a degree program, but I do remember they said that some of the state colleges do offer that. So
Yes, they do. And some of them may do that. That may be part of the WIOA program, but the WIOA program is free money and you can use it at a local college, a community college, a variety of other organizations. Okay, so that's great. And I'm seeing some colleges now starting to offer additional resources as well. And that's a great thing. You can also go and get some training directly through your unemployment office, again, whether you're getting unemployment compensation or not. The WIOA grant is not necessarily based on your zip code, Joe. The WIOA grant is a federal program. Each state, however, determines how that funding is used. More importantly, each county, in many cases, determines how much money you are eligible for, and it is a lifetime max. So, for example, I'm going to use the Chicagoland area. If you are in Lake County, Illinois, you're eligible for up to $10,000. Just across the street in Cook County, the highest amount you may get, and it depends upon the year, is $6,000 to $8,000. So it really depends. But you need to apply in the area in which you are. Okay, so now let's do what we're really talking about today, which is that whole idea of transferable skills. And the idea of getting that training is really important. Now, we all know that there are some very important transferable skills that are out there. And I know, Sue, you've been putting together some information about what some of those transferable skills might be. Do you want to share what you've learned?
Sure. This is still somewhat preliminary. I told Linda about it this morning because we've been talking about it and I'm putting it out there. But I did a lot of research when it became apparent that I should have been addressing it more directly. We all talk about it. In fact, Linda, when I first met you, you were listening to someone, I think it was on a Brenda Live-a-thon, anyway, years ago, when someone talked about STAR stories, you said, we need to do START stories. You've got to make sure you put in your T, transferable skills. So I always associate that with you. When I started a deep dive into it, my Google literature review, I discovered that most of the lists are coming off of what people like to call soft skills. I call them the people skills. You've mentioned some today. David Pryor talked about adaptability in the chat, flexibility, whatever. But as I said a few minutes ago, a skill is evidence of learning, but it's not showing your experience. So don't use it as a shortcut. Linda and I both talk about make sure you're talking so the other side of the convo can hear you. So I am now helping very actively a large group of people, federal government and federal contractors who've been taken out of basically huge rifts because of the decrease in global development funding, research, and evidence. And what has occurred to me in looking at this is there is a lot of assumption that when we talk about transferable skills, and JobScan and Indeed both wrote decent articles on it, they take each one independently. And so I'm envisioning when you say you put them in your cover letters, you're saying, I'm adaptable because, I'm creative because, rather than trying to back it up by starting with your experience and using that to weave together an integrated story. So I am now talking about categories of transferable skills. So big categories such as leadership, such as digital literacy, where you can then map out what kinds of skills and what kind of experience you have them in, so that you can partly get a visual of your experience and what you look like and which skills you've really used a lot where, versus just trying to use them, sprinkle them in. So still early on, that's why I contacted Linda to say, do you have time to review it? Can we chat next week? But I'd love to bring it to this group at some point and see how it lands, because I got pretty good reception from folks last night in terms of a framework and a mapping exercise that gets them farther along on seeing where their conversion is. Thank you.
I love that as a mapping exercise, as being able to determine what your skill set is, what kinds of things they're looking for. Now, one of the things we're going to find in terms of those transferable, I want to see what your mug says, Sue.
Oh, have a scientific day.
I love it. I need to get one of those for my husband. But the idea is that you need to be able to demonstrate how you've used those skills. Hard skills are the ones that are going to get you the interview. Soft skills are the ones that are going to get you the job. So one of the things that's important is you can't, just a listing of soft skills on your resume or on your LinkedIn profile really isn't going to cut it. Think about it as a Boolean search. I really want to be able to do a search where I'm adding together the things that are going to make you the candidate I want to talk with. And if everybody's putting in leadership, everybody's putting in communication, that's not going to help me narrow my field. So I'm going to be looking first for those hard skills, but I want you to demonstrate the soft skills like leadership. So in your interview stories, in your resume bullet points, in your LinkedIn bullet points, in your posts, talk about some of those things and how they bring value to the companies for which you're working, the industries that you're targeting. That's what really works. Okay, but it's always that documentation, that demonstration. If you're just listing the skills, whether it's especially the soft skills, you're just doing it, you're not telling me how they really work. You're not showing me. So when we're talking transferable skills, you need to be able to find them in a variety of different ways. And let's talk about how you can find what some of those transferable skills are, both for you and for other people, as well as for the jobs. But you also have to be able to highlight them in terms of what you can do with those skills for someone else. Okay, so thanks, Sue. And I'm really looking forward to seeing all the rest of that. Thanks for sharing. But that framework that Sue just talked about in terms of putting together a spreadsheet for yourself. Here's how I've demonstrated my leadership skills, my communication skills, my negotiation skills. All of those are really important because that's going to give you a framework that you can use to move forward in your interview stories, in your prep, in your resume, in your LinkedIn profile, and your comments. Now, how do you find the skills that are transferable? Is customer service a soft skill? Yes and no. Customer service could be both. If you're talking about experience and how you've actually applied that customer service, then it's a hard skill. If you're talking about it as a soft skill, then it's one of those things where you have to demonstrate how you've used it, but being able to assist customers, I would say that that's more of a hard skill than anything else. But yes, it's the empathy, the communication, the problem solving are things that you do that are the soft skills. The leadership, the communication style, the active listening, the problem solving, those are the soft skills that lead you to be an effective person in customer service. Okay, thanks for that, David. Both Davids. Okay, so how do you figure out what skills you're really looking for and what skills are transferable? We all know that we have them. It doesn't matter where they come from. And that's the important thing. When you're talking about resumes, when you're talking about your LinkedIn profile and your LinkedIn activity, figure out what are the hard skills for that particular job, and let's figure out how we can transfer them. So you can look at those. How many of you have tried to do some of the looking on LinkedIn? If you've got a premium account, LinkedIn will help you determine what the skills are for that particular job that you're looking at. Has anybody used that skills finder on LinkedIn or on JobScan? Not seeing any hands raised. So Denise, you've used it?
I have, it says, like, I'll say, there's something about, is my profile I can't think of the language, but basically, does my profile match the job description? And then it'll go into hard skills and soft skills.
Okay. So
I
one
mean,
of
it
the
works.
Okay, one of the things that's useful for that, and it works to some extent whether you're doing it as premium account or not, is that it tells you additional skills you might add to your resume.
Yes.
Okay, more importantly, it tells you additional skills that you should add to your LinkedIn profile. You've got the ability to have 100 different skills on that LinkedIn profile. You can add as many of them as you like. Okay. And you want to make sure that in that case, you're adding both hard and soft. But when you're putting them in individual jobs, I would rather see the skills that you're listing in those individual jobs be more of the hard skills. Okay. What have you found, Ellie? And did I mispronounce it again?
Yes, you have pronounced it perfectly.
Okay.
So in addition to that, for certain job, I recently came that LinkedIn actually get my resume. I can attach my resume. It completely reformatted and tailor it toward that particular job, save it in a PDF, and then add the name of the company as the file name. It's not in every job on LinkedIn, but for certain job, for whatever reason, gives that feature, which was new to me. I don't know, they're still experimenting with it or not, but it's pretty handy. Of course, you need to go and manually look at it. You know, sometimes things might be a little bit not right, but I find it to be very interesting that that makes it more ATS happy with that particular job. So that's another feature.
Okay, so be careful because some of those, any kind of AI, okay, and there are a lot of versions out there, is a good starting point. But ATS systems, recruiters, hiring managers, those of us on LinkedIn can often tell that something has been written by AI. Okay. And in some cases, they are automatically rejecting some of those resumes. So do be careful. Okay.
Correct.
It really needs to be you. It needs to be, use it as a way of giving you the ideas and the information. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But it has to be your voice. Recruiters and hiring managers are telling us, I don't want something written by AI because you're not going to be using that on the job to write for you. I want you. And if you're telling me that the job has communication skills, I want to know how you write, how you phrase things. Okay. And I want the person that I see in the interview to have that same style and to be able to talk in the same way as what it is that he or she submitted.
Good point.
Okay. So starting point, absolutely, but not an end point.
Yes.
Okay. Laura.
I have used it.
Can you get a little closer to your mic?
There we go. Much better.
Yes, thank you.
My experience, I guess part of it is that I'm not a traditional field. And so when I've used the skills, I get job descriptions that are really outside my field entirely. And I'm in a space right now, and I've mentioned this in the chat as well, where recruiters are seeing over 1,000 applications per posting.
Okay.
And so what I've heard now at least 3 different times, no, actually no, at least 5 or 6 different times on the few occasions when I do get a note back, that they're looking for the perfect fit. And so having transferable skills is great, but at this point in time, the market is such that they're able to find the perfect fit, or more likely to find the perfect fit.
Yes and no.
So,
okay,
but
you're right.
I'm just saying that based, I know it's an N of 1, and it's not, more than one person's experience at this point, but that's what I'm hearing from those who do write back saying, sorry, we chose not to interview at this time. I got a very long email just yesterday. That was an email shared with apparently 1,200 other applicants about the fact that they got 1,200 applicants for this one position. They're interviewing a very small number. But at this point in time, they're not able to interview everybody.
Okay, so there are a couple of points there that are really important for everybody to know. Number one, if you're looking on LinkedIn as an example, and it says that there are 1,000 applicants, okay, that's not necessarily true.
It's not on it's not LinkedIn. It's the recruiters themselves when they're writing back.
No, I understand. I was going to go there as well, but I want to first do about how many people are applying that you see on the jobs. Don't be scared off by that, because those are the people on LinkedIn who are actually looking at the job, not necessarily applying. And people are going to apply both on LinkedIn as well as elsewhere. By the way, don't apply directly on LinkedIn, apply on the company's site. But yes, you're absolutely right, Laura. The number of people who are applying for jobs has grown exponentially. The fact that there were 1,200 people who applied for that one job doesn't surprise me at all. What recruiters I'm sorry?
I wonder what type of job she's applying to that there's so much competition. 1,200 plus applicants.
It doesn't really matter what the job is right now.
Oh,
Okay, what we're finding, David, is that because there are so many people looking, and because unfortunately AI is at both blessing and curse, AI makes it very easy to apply to jobs if you're just going to use their wording. Recruiters are getting inundated, which is one of the reasons that you have 1,200 applications for one. Okay. As a result, what recruiters are telling us is that they may get 1,200 applications, but of those, and remember, they're doing that Boolean search on those applications as they come in. Okay. That when they're getting those 1,200 applications, maybe 10% of them are even worth looking.
huh.
Okay.
Question. What is the advantage, or why is it better to apply on a company website than through LinkedIn, say the Easy Apply? What?
Okay, so
Are there
Easy
less
Apply,
people?
two things. Okay. And David, we'll do that again next week when we're talking resumes, and the week after when we're talking Ask Me Anything. But applying directly on the company's website, as a recruiter, I get an email that day, several times a day, saying X number of people have applied, go take a look, and here are the new ones. If you're applying directly through LinkedIn, I may not get that for a week or so. It still has to go from one system to another to another.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the main reason. The other thing is that if you're applying directly on the company's website, you know it's a real job.
So you could say that on the jobs on the company website might appear first there than jobs in LinkedIn or Indeed.
I can post in both places, David, but the point is that your resume is going to get to me and get to my attention faster if you actually apply directly on my site.
Okay, so the process is quicker.
Yes. Okay. Now,
Gotcha.
Laura, in terms of the direct fit, you're absolutely right. There are companies who are still looking for unicorns, and that's true. Okay, we want to have somebody who matches everything, but it's up to you to demonstrate how what you do matches what it is they're doing and what it is they're looking for. You have to demonstrate that tie-in, and you have to demonstrate it in the first third of a page of your resume to make it easy for me. We're going to talk more about that next week when we talk about resume do's and don'ts. But in terms of not being able to find the right skills and find the right jobs, instead of looking for the skills and doing that or job titles, look for the tasks. That may help you narrow down the applications, not the applications, the postings that show up in terms of what it is you're looking for and the better fit.
Yeah, doing all of that.
It's a tough one out there. And again,
it's not a pretty market right now. I think that's just, we need to be aware of that, and that it's not going to get prettier in the next few months.
My crack crystal ball, Laura, says few months is an understatement.
Yeah, but we're all going to have to be patient, I think.
We are.
And in the meantime, figure out how we spin in productive ways.
Exactly. And we also
Because
have to
it
be able,
is not pretty.
it's not pretty, but it's another reason that you have to be very intentional about what it is you're doing. If you're one of the people who's contributing with that spray and pray approach with your resume, you're making it harder for everybody. And you're not going to be as successful in your job search.
And I'm taking 4 to 5 hours for every application, so there's no way that I'm doing
You're not doing spray and pray.
10 to
That's great.
30 a week. But that said, it's, you know, figuring out where you're pivoting to when you've got about 30
Yep.
years of experience is a different environment. And I think for those of us who are directly affected by the changes that are happening with government funding, it's a very real impact. And those of us who like establish careers in spaces that were focused on social service and the public good are really in a space of having to spin that into a commercial sector that may or may not appreciate those skills.
I think they do in many cases. You're right, especially though, unfortunately, because there's so many people who are trying to make that transition. But the idea of showing how what you've done. So what did you do, Laura?
I worked at the intersection of public health, foreign aid, and evidence and research. So those are all four areas that have been completely obliterated right now.
I understand that, but that's not what I asked. I didn't ask what your job areas were. I asked what you did.
Oh, I did research. I did research translation and evidence translation. I supported implementation of projects.
So I hear
both
project
globally.
management.
Yep. And
Okay.
I can use those, but I don't have a PMP.
You don't have to have a PMP in order to use
I'm
project
telling
management.
you this, Linda, just also based on what is out there right now for me. And I'm sure that my frustration is coming through to the surface. But as somebody who was working for an implementing partner for USAID, there we go, I've blown it up. Working internationally and then coming back to working at home, which is where I started. I experienced this going to international work from when I was doing domestic work. There is a lot to be said for the skills that we bring to the table, but when we're coming to the table with 30 years of skills and experience, and we're in an oversaturated market with people who are coming in with 15 years of the same experience and the same skills, we are a lot more expensive to hire than those people with the 15 years.
And I understand that. And coming from one industry, one government sector to another kind of an organization is going to be a different kind of a situation and different pay levels. And we understand that. So number one, many of us have 30 years or more of experience, but you only really need to talk about the last 10 to 15. Okay. And I understand that. And I understand the frustration. I can see it in your face. I can hear it in your voice. And I apologize for all the recruiters out there who can't see it, who can't see the skills and make that transition. But to be honest with you, the people who are looking at your resumes, you need to format it for the dummy on my side of the desk or the screen. You need to be able to demonstrate quickly how what you've done in the past is important to what I need. If you match at least 60 to, well, I used to say 60%, with so many people looking, okay, 65 to 70% of what it is they're looking for, and you can put it in their terms, go ahead and apply. That's a great job to apply for. But it's up to you to demonstrate that tie-in. So when we're talking transferable skills, you've got a lot of them, okay? And they're usable in a variety of different areas. And I apologize. Elena, you've been sitting there for quite a while. Thank you for your question too. What kinds of things can we answer for you?
Oh, actually, I was offering an answer to your question in regards of JobScan and other tools. I've been using JobScan on Profession Full Edition for over half a year, I finally stopped using it. The plus for JobScan, they claim to adjust a recommendation to specific ATS system for the company you're applying to. I don't know what it's worth, but that's the claim. I found out that it's easier to, and my resume is written by a person. I am making minor adjustments based on recommendations of JobScan. I found out that if you ask ChatGPT correct prompts, those answers were more useful to me.
Than JobScan?
Correct. But JobScan has this wonderful toy that you can look at, that your resume is 36% match. You do minor changes, put it in, and minor changes, I mean problem solving with a dash in between or without a dash in between. That will increase your resume rating from 36 to 52%. Then you do some other changes and it gives you 73% and says, oh, your resume is ready for application, go and apply. It's just, I'm just sharing my experience for what it was.
Have you had success doing it that way?
I've been doing it for over half a year, and then I developed my own prompts for ChatGPT and switched to that.
Okay.
In my experience, the only way I'm getting interviews, and I'm over 60 and recovering from cancer and was not working for over 18 months. So in my case, I'm only getting to interview if somebody brings my resume in. Nothing else worked so far other than entry level or first level of interviews. It's not working. In one case, recruiter just told to me, well, you have to change your last employment date to a year later. Well, I'm not comfortable doing it, but I've
I
been
want you
told.
to do that.
So does it work? I don't know. I don't see any difference, because if a person brings your resume in, then you're going on a different level and nobody really cares about dash and problem solving. That's all I have.
Okay. Sorry, just wanted to add something in the chat. Can't type and talk at the same time. There we go. Okay. So yes, there are a variety of different tools that you can use, but one of the things that's important, and we didn't get a chance to really talk about it much, is that whole idea of the market value of your skills. One of the advantages of something like a JobScan or a ChatGPT prompt, but primarily JobScan, or even LinkedIn looking at your resume, is to talk about what those Boolean search terms might be in terms of how I'm going to be looking at your resume, how I'm going to be looking at your profile. If you're talking about your LinkedIn profile, as an example, mention that you can have up to 100 skills listed. You don't need them all. But what you do need to do is make sure that when you're putting those skills in, you're not just typing in your own version of what that skill should be. Use all of the job postings that you're looking at. Pull some of their key terms to see what's going to be important. More importantly, as you start typing that skill, use the LinkedIn drop-down box. Because if I'm doing a search, that's the only way I'm going to find you on LinkedIn is through those drop-down box terms. So it doesn't matter what you call it in your head. What matters, unfortunately, is how you are seen on LinkedIn, if that's where I'm going to find you, or how you're seen in terms of your resume search. So use the actual skills from the drop-down box on LinkedIn. Make sure that the ones that you are using are primarily the hard skills. You want to make sure that those are all there because those are your transferable skills. include some of the soft skills as well, because those are also transferable, but I'm going to initially be searching on the hard skills. So you want to make sure that those are there, and make sure that you have at least one endorsement for those skills for which you want to be found. That helps you pop up higher in those searches. In order to endorse someone, LinkedIn, please don't listen. I'd love to know that you really did it and be able to say you did, but honestly, in order to endorse you for a skill, all we have to do is be first level connections. So one of the advantages of our private group, if you want to go into the private group and say, hey, everybody connect with me, and oh, by the way, can you endorse me for skills A, B, C, and D? What would you like me to endorse you for? You can do that. First level connections only are the ones who can endorse you. You can also send messages to some of your first level connections. By the way, do not make this a post, but you can send messages to some of your first level connections and say, I'm trying to improve my profile and getting found. And I know that skills are important and endorsements are important. Well, just wondering, what skills would you like me to endorse you for? Them first. They'll come back after you've endorsed them and say, what would you like me to endorse you for too? And they'll endorse you. So make sure you're doing that, getting found for those. Take a look at your skill set. If there are things that are on there that you no longer want to do, take them off. Okay, if you don't want to be found for Sue's example of COBOL, remove it from your skill set. Okay, you don't want me to find you, it's not something you want to do anymore. But those transferable skills are really important, and it's so important that I think we're going to do this again. Okay, we'll talk about it more when we're talking about resumes next week. We may even bring up a couple of jobs and talk about what those transferable skills might really be. Okay, so remember your resume questions. We're going to be talking resumes, do this, not that. I also want to include the fact that we do have the private group. The only people who can join that private group are people who have registered for this program. That's one of the reasons I asked for registration. Private group means that while it's hosted on LinkedIn, it's not visible to anybody else on LinkedIn other than the people in the group. You can't just search for it and say, I want to be a member. You have to either be invited or you have to ask me to join. And I can only invite you if you've come to these meetings and you're a first level connection. But you can ask me to join and I will double check and I will approve you the same day, normally within an hour or two. Okay, so please do that. There's the link to the private group right there. Share your information in that group. I do post jobs there as well. Make sure that what you're doing is visible to the rest of us. Ask your questions there. Again, with the word question in all caps. And I do want to make sure that these sessions work for all of you. So I put together, a Google Sheet. If you have this link, you have the permission to not only view it, but to add your topics or your speakers. This program works best when we do it for you, when your topics or your speakers are the ones that are really important to you. So please make sure that you're adding that kind of information into the chat, into the Google Doc. You can also put it in the private group, just put it in all caps. Topic, put it on in all caps. Question, okay, put it in all caps. Support, whatever it is you need, do that. And you can always connect with me and DM me, and I'm happy to respond to you there as well, or send me an email. Always happy to have a quick chat with people. Here's my information again. You're absolutely right, David. Nothing about this process is 100%. And everybody you talk with is going to give you different information and advice, but I can tell you that what we're talking about is some of the things that really work. So trying to just share it all. And one of the things that I love about this group is the fact that You're all sharing with each other. You're giving us advice about what works for you, what doesn't, what your concerns are, so that we can help support you too. Any questions? Remember, next week, we're going to be talking about resumes, do's and don'ts. And we're going to be talking about all your questions on I think it's the 2nd of April, is a job search Q&A where you bring up any questions and we'll try and get those answered as well. In the meantime, anybody else have anything that they want to talk about real quick? And by the way, thank you all for hanging in with me. Make sure that you copy. I'm going to turn off the recording. There we go. Okay. Make sure that you all connect with one another and with me. Make sure you copy the chat because there's good information there. Now, I will copy the chat and I will put it in our private group this afternoon. Hopefully, our LinkedIn URLs will be clickable. They usually are, but LinkedIn God sometimes that doesn't always work. But I will put it there. In order to copy the chat, if you go up to the top where it says Job Search Lunch and Learn, you'll see 3 dots. You can click on those and it will say save. And then you can save it wherever it is you want to do. Okay. You can also do it the old-fashioned way by putting your cursor at the bottom of the chat box and scrolling all the way up or down, doing a Control-C to copy and then putting it in your own document. But as I said, I will put it in the chat as well, or in our private group as well.
Linda, thank you. Good job as always.
Thank you both. It's nice to see you. Sorry I'm seeing you, but it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Thank you.
It's been a while. So thank you all. I will stay on for a little bit in case anybody has anything else, but otherwise, we'll leave this open so that you can make sure that you copy the chat.
Bye, Linda.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Linda.
You're very welcome.
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Stay safe, stay healthy.
You all too.
Linda, sorry to have been late. I had an interview.
Good for you. How did it go?
I think it went really well. This was the 3rd interview. And the executive director, operations director recommended me for the role. I had applied for something else. In the conversation I had with him last week, hidden job market. I spoke with, applied Monday, had a screening interview with HR Wednesday, had an interview with the director of operations Thursday. Operations director during that conversation said, I think you'd be a better fit for a role that hasn't been approved yet. Met with the manager of the particular team this position is on today, and she said to me, I think you're a great fit. I'm going to get back to HR. Nothing's definite, but needless to say, it went really well.
That's wonderful.
And the recommendation, I have personal connections with, and he used to work at one of the companies that I came from. So, talk yourself up, folks that are still here. If you have that interview, share your experience, because if I hadn't shared, I wouldn't have even have read this job description based upon what was sent to me, based upon the title and based upon the job description. I never would have even have read the job.
Yep. So you never know where that's going to come from. People complain a lot about the ATS, but the ATS is a great way. It's an electronic file cabinet. And a good recruiter will search within it to try and find candidates. If you have an interview and it isn't the right fit, what often happens is that the note goes into the ATS.
Okay.
Saying better fit for this, or you might find that direct conversation there. Okay. That's the other reason for doing the thank you after an interview, even if you get rejected. I'd love to be considered for other positions. Thanks for keeping in mind. Can I continue to keep in touch? You'd be amazed at how few people do that and how important it really is. And I have had a number of people actually who have gotten jobs with the company that they did not initially apply for that reason, including me.
Wow.
Mhm. So,
Hidden job market, it's amazing. I've never had this happen, but this was a cold application to a job post that had me apply to this particular, the first role.
right.
And then the conversation with the operations director, job hadn't even been approved yet, let alone posted. So you just don't know.
Don't know.
Just,
So that's why I
may I
said,
ask a question? May I ask a question?
go ahead.
Where did you find the post? And what made you decide to apply despite the fact, like you're saying you weren't going to, but you decided to? What made you decide to say, I'm applying anyway?
Well, the first role that I applied to was a fit. It would fit my experience. So I applied
Right.
to that role. But the conversation with the operations director, he thought I was a better fit based upon the conversation. So he said the way it was left is as soon as the post, the job is approved,
Right.
posted, we will get that to you. You can review it if you want to apply for it. I started reading through and I'm like, this isn't a fit. But he thought it was. So I need an opportunity. If he knows the role, he knows the intimate needs of the organization. If he thinks I'm a fit based upon our conversation,
That's it.
it would be crazy not to.
Absolutely.
So if he sees the fit, I've
That's all
already
it
had the interview with the operations director. I won't have to do that again. So again,
Fantastic.
it was just, and he asked me, he said, would you like to be considered? Absolutely. If someone, I'd never had that happen before, but if someone offers you that especially in
it.
this environment,
You take it.
I was shocked. I mean, and here as I said, I never would have read I never would have, after reading the job title, would never have read the description.
That's amazing. Keep us posted and good luck.
Thank you. I will. This is a first, but it
Amazing.
was a cold application that led to this, but it was the conversation during the interview.
Yes.
Did you apply directly to the company?
Yes, I believed it. I originally saw the post on LinkedIn, and after Linda and everybody has said, don't do it on LinkedIn,
Correct.
went straight to now, mind you, if it's not on the company website, you don't have a choice, but I went straight to the company website. But it took me a minute to find it because it didn't come up right away. And I even searched and I had to reword it a couple of ways and then found it, applied, and it was just quick. It was literally a week ago, Monday, that I applied. HR Wednesday, operations director
amazing.
Thursday, and then the manager of the team today. So I mean, and the job app, it was only approved yesterday. It was approved and posted yesterday. They sent me the link.
Love your
I applied. It
excitement.
was boom, 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 boom. It was.
You
has,
manifested this, Susan. You created this.
It seems like it just meant the pieces fell into place on this one.
And that
It
happened. Okay. So yes, sometimes the job process goes very quickly. Often it's very long, but the idea is that companies recognize that when you're putting your information out there, don't be worried about what the title is necessarily. Okay. Worry about what the job is doing, which is one of the reasons that I suggest when you're looking for jobs and looking for which jobs to apply to, don't necessarily worry about the job title itself. Don't necessarily even search by the job title. Search by the activities and things that you would be bringing to that job, the things you want to do, the things you're good at, and find the jobs that way. And that seems to work.
And show excitement to the company when you're interviewing. Act if you have to. I mean, as long as you are truly, you can be excited about it, but that's going to show.
Real or not, they want to get that feeling that this is the job you want in this company, nothing else. Okay. It's not just any job. Although sometimes we know that that's the case, but they want to know from their perspective, you want this job and this company. And if this particular company, this particular job in this company doesn't work out, you want to be considered for other jobs within that company because you're so excited about the people that you've met and what they're doing and the way they operate. Right?
And that's when I spoke with HR yesterday, because he reached out to me letting me know the job had been approved and posted. I even made the statement that I said, to be quite frank, I've actually stopped looking because I'm really excited about your organization. I'm really excited about what so play that. I hate to say it, play that up, because
You have to.
Yep.
You're smart, Susan. You're smart. You're playing the game well. You
Well,
really are. I
I've
commend
been-
you.
Don't stop looking.
oh no, I haven't, but I've
Don't
been through 3 layoffs in 4 years, so I feel like I've been looking since October of 2020.
Yeah.
So this has been this has been long, but it will happen. And I don't know if this is going to come to fruition. I can hope, but until I have it in paper or writing and
Right.
something signed on the dotted line, but we'll absolutely keep you all. It's going to happen.
It will.
Linda, may I ask a couple of questions while you're still here?
Yeah, a couple of questions, but I do need to go in a couple of minutes because we're already back.
I
Okay.
respect your time. Would it be appropriate for Susan to follow up after this process, or is it considered hounding and sounding desperate? Just following up, just wanted to let you know that I'm excited about this role and I'm looking forward to next steps. Is that hounding? Is that
That's not
sounding?
hounding. Hounding is, where are we in the process? Why didn't you get back to me? What's going on? That's, and doing it too often and being a
Now I'm
little-
excited for Susan.
Okay, but that's what you just mentioned is part of your thank you notes. Okay. Always at the end of a thank you note, I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to next steps.
Yeah.
And then leave it there, not what's your time frame. Because you can ask me all you want, but I may not be able to give you a real answer.
Right. And then my other question is, and this is a controversy in my world, asking for referrals. I know some people who have said straight out, they've reached out to a First Connection saying, I'm really excited about, like, I'm excited about applying for this company. Would you provide me a referral?
If it's somebody you know who knows your skills, yes, you can do that. There are 2 ways of doing it. Whether they know you or not, if the company has an employee referral program,
That's what I mentioned, because it's something in it for them.
okay, then sometimes they will be willing to do that. Would you be interested in my listing you as an employee referral so that you get the bonus if I get hired? You're not asking them to talk about your skill set. You're not doing any of that. Okay, but it is that way of talking about getting that employee name in there. Okay.
Focus
But
on
not
the
all companies have
referral
that.
bonus. Right. Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
Who would turn down free money if they can recommend somebody, if you're connected and they know you and who would turn down free money?
But in many cases, I've seen people do it for people that they don't really know.
Or they don't want to put
It
your,
can be dangerous.
or they don't want to put their reputation on the line.
That's the big one. So
Yeah.
in cases, they really have to know you first and know a little bit about your skill set. But that employee referral bonus, okay, you could be just networking with them. Okay, you've had a quick networking conversation. You've done a little bit on their post. You reach out and say, you know, I am applying for a job here. If they have an employee referral bonus program, would you be interested in my listing your name? I'm not asking you to refer me. I'm not asking you to recommend me. Okay, but I'm just asking if you want to have that bonus. It works for you because that gives you that additional impetus in somebody else's mind. Okay, and it works for the employee so that if you do get hired, there's something there. Now, some people, you're right, will be hesitant to do that because they may get reached out to. Okay, in which case You know, it's okay to tell them all we did is network. That's okay. We had a quick conversation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And by the way, Susan, don't stop looking. I know that, or Sandra, excuse me, don't stop looking. Okay.
No, no,
Hold
I
it.
just I had someone reach out to me. I was at Pratt. I had someone reach out to me from Pratt this morning wanting to let me know about a role. I said, oh, I've already applied. And she said, I know the person this is supporting. He's hiring this position. I am happy. If you want to send me your resume to send it along.
Perfect.
So, and she sent it on. He's already acknowledged receipt and he's taking her word for it that I'd be a good candidate. So that's a direct.
That's wonderful.
I won't stop. No.
No. You never stop looking until you actually started the job.
Mm-hmm. And never stop networking once you land, because you never know when you'll need your network again.
Exactly. And not only that, remember, it's not just about what you need. It's about what you can provide.
Right.
So it's always
your neighbor.
building that network, always growing that network, always be networking, and honestly, always be looking. Okay. All right. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to download the chat. I'm going to put myself off mic and off video for a moment. Okay. And just give you another minute or two to do that, and then I'll close the room.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Appreciate
Have a
you.
great day, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy.
You all
You
too.
too.
Thank you, Linda. Have a nice day.
Somebody mentioned that it's
Susan.
free ice cream day tomorrow at Dairy Queen. So,
Oh,
Love Dairy Queen. Childhood favorite.
yep. All right. Bye,
All right,
guys.
take care. Bye.
bye.
Closing the room in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.